Are.
Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Macro Podcast. I have a super special guest. I was able to convince my good friend Jason Williams to actually do a podcast, and I think I can't believe how lucky I am. He agreed to do it. Jason is an incredible underwriter, and I know one of the Achilles heels for most people getting started in the business is their underwriting and in making sense of the math behind everything. And just wanted to first and foremost welcome Jason to the call.
Thank you, Doug, for having me.
Absolutely. And Jason, before we get too far down the road into the weeds of underwriting, can you tell folks a little bit about your background? And you have a should say Dr. Jason Williams. Jason, you have a PhD in chemical engineering.
Yes, I have a PhD chemical engineering, got from Texas Tech. So I'm a Texas boy. I've been doing engineering for 15 years in a former life, and now I'm actually got laid off from my job. And so now I get to do real estate full time. So kind of all worked out for me.
And just a bit about your real estate background, Jason. You guys were doing single family homes for quite a while, right?
Yeah, we've been doing single family homes since when I was in grad school. Our first house we bought, we lived in, we turned into a rental. And then from there, we started more single family homes in our current town, which is North Texas. And then we discovered multifamily about 5 years ago. And I haven't looked back.
Yeah. And once you discovered what you can do with the math behind multifamily, it was you're kind of like, oh, okay, I think that's better, isn't it?
Yeah, so I've seen a lot of different like spreadsheets for multifamily, and there's just always seemed to be something lacking in them. And so I ended up creating my own. And so everything that I thought was lacking in others' spreadsheets, I put into mine. And so now I have a really robust model that works very well. So,
and to that end, Jason, you even actually are now consulting with others and coaching and teaching underwriting as well. Is that right?
yes. So actually, I went to a meetup or actually a conference a few months ago, and I got overwhelmingly hit up saying, "Hey, when are you going to start coaching?" Or, "Hey, I need you to teach me how to do this," or hey, it's like I couldn't even look up to breathe. So then it's like, you know what? Fine, I'll do it. So I am doing an underwriting coaching program. I was kind of reluctant to do it, but I'm doing it now. So,
well, I think people are going to be astounded by what they learned from Jason very clearly. Elite level analysis. And Jason, whenever you're ready, we can actually go ahead and show them a little bit of what you work on and give them a flavor of how you're different and what you teach.
Okay. Yeah, can I share my screen?
Should be able to there.
Yeah. Okay. So I have a really complicated looking model right here. This is my own proprietary one. I've taken bits and pieces out of many different ones. This is the summary page. So like it looks, wow, bam, overwhelming. But what I can do is this has all the different loan structures. I have 4 different loan types and a refinance. So you can have like your senior acquisition. You can have like a seller carryback as a junior. You can have a mezzanine debt. You can have a construction loan. So my model can actually do ground up construction as well as multifamily acquisition. And then over here, I have 3 different investor classes, A, B, and C. Each of those has 4 hurdles. And then I also have a preferred equity tier. So if you have preferred equity, then you have that. And each of these is a switch, turn it off and on if you need it or not. So the reason why I have so many classes and so many hurdles is because someone came up to me one time and say, "Hey, can you model such and such classes at these hurdles?" And so I did. And so whenever I model something for someone else, I slap it into mine. So
there you go, for sure.
And then with it, I can upload like a rent roll and a T12 straight into my model. I'm not going to get into these too deeply,
Mhm.
but then I can programmatically populate all my income and expenses based off of the T12 and rent roll. So I'm not going in, putting in, all right, counting, all right, well, there's 48 A2s and they have 700 square feet, and then the average rent on them is 760. No, I have all this done automatically. So whenever I do this, it takes me like 2 minutes to get it done.
Nice.
And then same for the rent or for the T12 and the income and expenses. All of this is done automatically for me. So as you can see, there's equations up here. I'm not typing in numbers. So, and then same for the expenses. Now, if 2 minutes, well, 2 minutes for the rent roll and maybe 15, 20 minutes for the expenses, if that is too slow for you, I actually have a calculator. Can you see my calculator? Or am I sharing just my Excel? Let's see.
Yeah, I think I see it.
All right, sharing my calculator now. See it now?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so now if you go to our website, theacademypresents.com/2min, you get this 2-minute calculator, which already has default values filled out for you. And then you can determine if a property is worth pursuing or not.
Yeah, quick back of the envelope to make sure, hey, yeah, or these numbers are stupid. We're not going to ever come close to that.
Yeah. So like for 750K potential income, 11% economic vacancy, not necessarily physical vacancy, so that you take into account like your lost leases and concessions, stuff like that. Your average expense rate, the default is 40. So I made this model a few years ago, but now you're getting up there into like the mid 50s typically. Cap rate of 6. So you should be looking at about a $5 million property right here. So
right. And
then in this section, we get into like the financing stuff. Down payment, say 30%, 70-30 interest rate. Well, you're looking at a bridge, so we're looking at 11.5%. Acquisition fee. Now, one thing with a bridge is it is interest only. This doesn't account for that. The debt service is interest and principal. So that will be off a little bit. But then it shows you, all right, so you need to raise about 2 million for this property. And then you can get into your investor returns down here. So
very nice
for year one. So so this is a quick 2-minute calculator. It's open to everybody. It's not behind a wall yet.
Nice.
It will be.
Yeah, someday soon.
And it's always going to be free. One day I might just start saying, hey, give me your email address to log in or something. But right now it's not. So going back to my model, because this one is 2 minutes and the other one is 30 minutes to fill out once you get good. What really sets this model apart, I think, and what I do is, so I have this cash flow tab and it breaks down into the month for each category. And so what this allows me to do is run my business plan off of the model. So I every week I'm in a call with property management, and every week they give me the numbers and expenses and delinquency, stuff like that. And then every month I get a big spreadsheet from their accounting firm saying, all right, this is how much we spent and all that. So guess what? Now I can go back and say, all right, we're 4 months in. We should have 122 in expenses and have an NOI of 92,000 for month 4. It's like, well, we're spot on income, but expenses are 94,000 or 134,000. So a little bit off. So that drops my NOI. It's like, well, now I can start whittling down saying, all right, why am I off on my expenses? Why are they so high? And then we can at least start in discussion at month 4 versus
year end when it's
year end when I'm like,
yeah.
my NOI should be 1.17 million and it's only 880,000. It's like, well, there's 300,000 missing somewhere.
Mm.
So where did that go? So we can discover that way sooner and start changing our business plan to accommodate. So
Yeah, it seems like that variance report, having that right in front of you very early on, is a great way to stay on top of a budding problem. That's incredible.
yeah, and I've talked with many apartment syndicators and operators, and they'll run one of the spreadsheets that you can download or you can pay a couple $100 for, and they'll submit an LOI or they'll get it under contract, and then you won't ever look at it again.
Mhm.
And so they're kind of hoping that their numbers are working out. But
Yeah.
here, this is the numbers you're projecting for your investors. So you need to be able to hit those. If you're not hitting them based on the underwriting, then you're never going to hit them for your investors. So that's why I don't understand why people don't use their underwriting as their business plan. So
That's one of the questions I was excited to talk to you about. What are the number one mistakes that people make, or not necessarily number one in rank order, but top mistakes? And that sure sounds like one of the top mistakes is not continuing to run your business plan off of your pro forma.
yeah, and actually I just managed to break my model. Excel has a lot of problems, and I am working on getting this on a web-based server so
I
that
see.
I don't have to do it in Excel. It's going to
Mhm.
look and feel the same, but it's all going to be online so that you don't have to worry about Excel breaking periodically.
Yeah, and continuing down that rabbit hole in terms of mistakes that people make often, what are the key rookie mistakes you see, Jason, that are tripping people up, that really seem to be common?
So I invest in Texas. Texas is a weird state, meaning you don't have to disclose how much you pay for a property whenever you buy it to the
Mm-hmm.
tax
Mm-hmm.
assessor. And so they kind of guess about what it's valued at. And so a lot of times predicting the taxes in Texas is difficult. You can't go necessarily off of the T12 because that was last year's taxes. This year, they might increase it 70%.
Ooh.
They might say, hey, I noticed you have a loan on it and the bank says you owe 4 million. So we're going to estimate you bought it at 4.5 million or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You might have bought it at 8 million, who knows? But their year before it would have been like at 2 million. And so they double your taxes, but you really can't fight it because it's so much less than what you paid. But that is enough to throw off your numbers. So taxes, and then insurance is another big one. There are ways to get around that, but insurance in Texas are going through the roof. Florida as well. We had a big freeze back in 2021, where like the whole state froze. Lots of lines froze and broke, and lots of properties damaged. And so insurance has never been the same since. And so that's one reason why insurance is going up. Another is I heard the three main insurance companies actually left Texas altogether. So that's another. And then another reason insurance is going through the roof that it's hard to predict is the insurance companies are now saying, all right, instead of 90 cents per square foot for replacement costs, we're doing like $1.40 or something like that. I don't know the numbers. It might have been 90 and 140, but the difference is huge. And so that would be another reason why it would be so much or the insurance would be way off, and insurance can make and break a deal. Same with taxes. So
for sure. And Jason, how do you recommend people navigate the interest rate issue because we have a lot of uncertainty right now with regard to interest rates moving forward. How would you recommend people model that in getting at that problem?
So I have lenders who I am in contact with. They're a text away.
Mhm.
And periodically I'm saying, so what are loans looking at right now? And she'll say, well, we just did one at like it's 7.75%, 70% LTC. You're looking at a 30-year AM, a 36-month interest only, stuff like that. Granted, this may be like a bank debt.
Mhm.
Bridge is you're looking at about 11.5 to 12%. And so the bridge is going to be interest only anyway, or agency you're looking at. And today is May, or this month is May 2023, just in case um someone's listening to this a couple years from now and wondering what the hell century I'm in with these
Yeah.
interest rates. um an agency is about mid fives to mid sixes right now. So um basically I keep my thumb on it just to
Mhm.
keep up to date with current lending right now. um Projecting forward, I take what they suggest. I also I have a bunch of lenders that I listen to. So and they all more or less form a consensus of what's going on, so I can estimate it that way. So
And Jason, in terms of IRR, and what are your favorite return metrics in terms of, okay, this is what we should look at most? Are there any metrics that you particularly like in measuring a good performance?
so actually I keep up with what my investors want.
Mm.
My investors want a certain IRR, they want a certain cash on cash, they want a certain AAR, something like that, or equity multiple. So I keep that as my basis. So, and as you can see, my spreadsheet quit, so I can't
Not a problem.
calculate anything right now. But what that means is, so I run a deal to see what they would get. So if it doesn't make sense to them, it doesn't make sense for me.
Right.
Um, my investors are priority. And so, I mean, I don't even look at the cap rate going in until after it already meets my metrics, and like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, so this cap rate's at 6, so
Mhm.
it's reasonable for the market. If this was like decent returns and a cap rate of 2, I was like, that's questionable, but by my numbers, if
Yeah.
I feel like it's doable. So for like IRR, I try to keep things above 17 if possible. Equity multiple, I prefer 2. um I'll start entertaining down to about 1.8,
Mhm.
because there's tweaks you can make in your business plan that can boost that. um your cash on cash, I prefer 8% plus. And then my AAR is like 20 to 30. I mean, that's kind of like a bogus number, and you can get it from your equity multiple and stuff like that as well. So
Absolutely. Jason, in terms of your vision for coaching this and moving forward, how do you see the coaching classes going, and how's that going to look?
So my coaching it's a 3-pillar system. The first pillar is like the hunting and gathering, where you go to find all the information, who the contacts you need to make are, um, how to get your good tax numbers, especially for Texas, how to get your insurance, where to get your good lending numbers, and just all your income and expenses numbers. You can't always go off of a T12. Um, so you need to get like third party verification. So go over that. And then the second pillar is now using my model, how to implement all of that into this. Like I said, it only takes me a few minutes to get all that implemented. So I go and show you how to do that so that the model takes care of itself and you don't have to input everything by hand. You do all this by hand, it'll take you a couple days, I think.
It sure would, for sure.
Maybe one day if you're dedicated and can sit down long enough and you don't get your eyes crossed.
Yeah.
But when you do it programmatically, you don't get any typos either.
Yeah.
So, and then the third pillar is how to use this as your business plan after you acquire the asset. So that's what my coaching entails.
And is that going to be on a rolling basis, Jason, or how's that program going to look?
On what did you say? On a
well,
what
meaning
basis?
like a rolling enrollment, or do you have like set times you think that'll be?
Oh, it'd be rolling. It'd be whenever somebody's ready, because you can't ever get people on the same schedule. And so when people are ready, I can do the course with them. Right now it's one-on-one, but I'm migrating that to, it can be like a group or more online modules, stuff like that. So.
And Jason, if is there any question or topic I didn't talk about that you think we should talk about?
Well, since this is a real estate macro podcast, I can show you a quick background of what this model is made of. And that's why it broke, is I had a typo in my macro.
Your macro. That'll do it every time, won't it?
So these are my macros. And what happens with a macro is I can create custom formulas. Let's see if that fixed it. Yep, see, now it's fixed. So with macros, I can make one little change and it goes through the whole spreadsheet. If I make a change and say this equation and sell this one, then I need to copy this and copy it all the way over to the end. And that'd be like hundreds of cells. But if I make it in my macro, it's done automatically. So it makes it more efficient on a modeling basis. But there's also a lot of proprietary equations and stuff in here that I use to make it more one, user friendly for you, and more efficient for me on my end as well. So but yeah, this is the back end of the model. This is almost like the beating heart of it. So
yeah.
So yeah, and actually I didn't even show you unhide. I got some sensitivity analyses too that I run macros for. And so what, I'm not going to run them now because you can hit run and you can go make a sandwich and come back and still wait. But what this does is I can change my, say, what your exit cap would be versus versus what like your rent growth would be, or your hold time. And all of this can be changed based on what you want. So it's hard to see. So I'll zoom in. But you can pick different things to pick and compare.
That is a fantastic table there.
Yeah. And then you run it and then you can say, all right, so this is what the base case is at 3% rent growth and 7.1% exit cap. So this is the returns I should be getting, 19% IRR. And then this is just for class A. For class B, then it'll rerun it and give you the different numbers. And then you can see, you can see it go range from say 22.6 down to 11.
10 if things don't go very well. Yeah.
Yep. So
very nice.
So this model is actually very powerful. I've seen bits and pieces of this in other people's models, but I haven't seen like a collective of everything in here.
Yeah, I would agree. For me, that's the best sensitivity table I've seen yet, because sometimes it's too many different tables where it's kind of like, it's not very useful. That is very useful because you get to see it all in one spot.
Yeah. And then another thing is I can run different scenarios. I can run different prices to see what it would be. I can run different hold period. And again, these are drop downs. This is basically every variable in the model you can change. And so the macros are running in the background for all of this as well. So, so you can change like, all right, I'm going to refi in month 6 or month 36 or something like that. And you can see how it'll affect your numbers. So very, very powerful tool that I've never seen anything like this anywhere else. So
Yeah, I have to agree. I've seen a ton of spreadsheets in my time in commercial real estate, and I am a little bit biased because Jason is my friend. But aside from that, it really is an elite underwriting tool. And if you're really interested in learning underwriting, I think everybody should, even if you're a capital raiser. But for sure, the folks that want to be a hardcore deal junkie, I can't recommend Jason's service higher. I really have gotten to know Jason and his process, and really, really just an incredible teacher of this stuff.
thank you. And I've had a lot of interest from like just passive investors. They want to vet a deal better.
Yeah.
I mean, they get some underwriting, but I mean, they want to be able to go in and do the numbers themselves to make sure that what they're investing in makes sense. So, I mean, I've had people who want to do this for a team to passive investors. So, and underwriting, anybody can do it, should be able to do it. And I try to make the tool easy enough that you can. So
yeah, it is also very user friendly with the drop downs, Jason. And I will say that that's a huge plus. I can't tell you how many times if you get somebody else's spreadsheet and it's pretty much limited to whatever they believe about underwriting, and so you get stuck and you can't customize it. With this, you have so much freedom in terms of doing different types of analysis.
yeah, and I use variables a lot. So like if you look up here, purchase price. So every time purchase price is used in the model, it's not referencing summary B24. No, it's referencing purchase price, so that you're not having to flip back and forth between all of these tabs trying to play choose your own adventure.
What sheet did I put that on? And you know,
exactly, because going through other models, it's like, all right, well, I'm pulling information from this sheet, so I'm going back and forth between them. It's like, all right, figuring out where this one is. Okay, I'm looking at L42. All right, so then that's that. So then I have to go back to the equation, like L42 up here. And all right, so now it's multiplied by L48. So I have to go back and see what L48 is. And yeah, this is a whole lot easier.
And Jason, on the frontiers of AI and underwriting, have you seen anything where that might be the next level that could help out also?
So I have heard that ChatGPT 4 is going to be able to do spreadsheets. But to be honest, watching ChatGPT and Google Bard play chess, I don't have any I don't my esteem for that is not very high, at least not right now. It might take a few years to get there, but right now, yeah. And if anybody is interested, go to YouTube and say Google Bard versus ChatGPT chess and watch how they play a game.
Oh wow. That sounds like fun. I'm with you on that. It's like, okay, it's interesting on some content stuff, but are we ready to, bet 50 grand on ChatGPT at this point?
Yeah, I wouldn't bet it. So a little spoiler for the Bard versus GPT chat is they jump over pieces, pieces disappear, and then all of a sudden they come back, and then next thing you know, you might have like 4 knights on the board, and then it'll just randomly say, all right, I have no more moves, you win. And you're like, there's like plenty of moves.
Yeah,
it's just I don't understand why you think that. So who knows what they would come up with on a model like this. I don't think it would know all the rules.
Right.
And then if it does come up with the rules, who knows what it'll do with those rules. So
That's a great point too. I think that's what when they talk about art versus science, it is a science definitely in what you're doing, but there's also an art to it, I think. And
yeah,
therefore AI will
yeah,
fail.
yeah. And especially, so when I was an engineer, there's a thing called engineering judgment,
Mm.
which basically comes from experience. So you know something's going to happen a certain way, even though the numbers don't necessarily dictate it.
Mm-hmm.
And so you use your judgment and change the numbers to what your judgment is, and then that will affect your outcome. And so you can use that with this as well. And Google and Chat GPT won't be able to even come close in that regard.
I have to agree. Should be interesting to see how it plays out. Maybe 10 years, maybe never, but not anytime soon. I would agree.
Yeah, not anytime soon.
Yeah.
My job is still safe. So
well, folks, Jason, want to thank you so much for joining us on today's podcast. And I will definitely drop Jason's contact information in the chat so you can reach out to him to get coaching and support. Does also some consulting work if you want to just outsource to Jason. I do believe that's also an opportunity. So whatever works.
it is, but I'd rather teach you how to fish than fish for you. So
absolutely. And I can't think of anybody better. Seriously.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for joining us, Jason.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Uh-huh. Bye-bye.
Bye.